We start Hollow Knight Silksong with just the Crest of the Hunter, but a big part of getting stronger in the game is through unlocking and upgrading new crests, which unlock new playstyles and attack patterns, and also play a critical role in unlocking powerful upgrades from Eva. There are 3 crests that we can get in Act 1 of the game, and we are going to cover them in the order that they can be obtained. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. The earliest one we can get is that of the Wanderer, and I'll show the path to get there now. One way to reach the Chapel of the Wanderer requires a simple key, and the other requires the Cling Grip. I'll show both ways of getting there, starting with the former. We'll start from the Marrow Bellway station and move west. This Bellway is a convenient starting point, but we actually don't even need to defeat the Bell Beast to get this crest. All we need is a simple key, and one can be obtained from Peb in Bone Bottom if we have enough rosaries. We'll hit the lever above if necessary, then drop down through the lower west passage of the first chamber in Mossholm. We should activate the lift below, which goes up and down between Bone Bottom, then cross the gap above. Swift Step makes crossing this gap a lot easier, but we can also cross it with no traversal abilities at all, so long as we can skillfully needle pogo off the Acnids. Beyond the Acnids, we will reach a long horizontal chamber that is initially guarded by a Craggler mini-boss. It's very nasty, and we will need to use each cover spot available to get through this cavern if we don't have Swift Step available. Even then, we are likely to get hit at least once on the final stretch out of this chamber. Passing into the next chamber, there is a mask shard that can be found behind a destructible wall below, and we will need to use a simple key on the door here to access the wormways. We will then carefully make our way down the first passage we see and move east down several chutes to get back to Bone Bottom. This is where our 2 paths to the Chapel of the Wanderer converge, so let's cover the way we can get there for free once we have Cling Grip. Starting from Bone Bottom, we can take that lift we unlocked earlier up to the large gap, just before the Wormway area. On the west edge of the gap, we can drop down and then activate our Drifter's Cloak as soon as we get into the area below. We can then float over to the west to land in a small room, and west from there to land atop a large bone structure. We will then move even further west from there. There's a tall vertical section that we can wall climb up to get into the westmost region of Bone Bottom. Regardless of the path we took to get here, we should now be able to drop down, quickly unlock the shortcut back to Bone Bottom to the east, which I failed to show here, then move a short distance west to the Chapel of the Wanderer's entrance. We'll need to watch out for traps as we make our way down to the central chamber, where a few waves of early game enemies will need to be defeated. Even though they are all fairly weak, this can be somewhat challenging, especially early in the game. Once we've defeated all waves, we can move west and down to reach the site where we will bind the Crest of the Wanderer. Moving out of the chapel and east will then bring us back to Bone Bottom. Next up is the Crest of the Reaper, and this one is super easy to reach once we get to Greymoor. The Cling Grips make it easier to reach, but I believe we can get there with just the Drifter's Cloak. Starting from the Greymoor Bellway, we will move west and into a tall tower structure. We will then need to reach the top of it if we haven't already unlocked the western shortcut out. Again, I'm using Cling Grips here, but I believe this can all be done without it. Near the top, we'll move out the western passage, then go down the next chamber in a zigzag pattern while unlocking a couple shortcuts along the way. The Chapel of the Reaper is about halfway down this chamber in an alcove along the western wall. Once inside, we'll make our way down, then up through a small platforming section to reach an arena. After defeating a few waves of enemies, we can go to the chamber above, where the Crest of the Reaper is unlocked. While the Wanderer Crest is pretty good for platforming, this one has it beat in my opinion. That's perfect because the next crest we will cover, that of the Beast, is at the far east end of Hunter's March, and the Reaper's Crest makes platforming through that area a lot easier. All we need to reach the Chapel of the Beast is the Drifter's Cloak, and we will start from the Marrow Bellway, then move east. After getting through a couple of chambers, we can drop down to a jailhouse to rest at, then go to the chamber above. We'll need to defeat the Scarguard mini-boss there before advancing further east into Hunter's March. Near the end of Hunter's March is an arena where several waves of Scar enemies will need to be defeated, and this is very challenging, especially if we come here as soon as possible. Overall, I recommend saving this area and Crest for near the end of Act 1 or even Act 2 after getting some upgrades there. After a couple of more platforming sections, we'll reach a large vertical chamber with an airstream at the center. We can ride it up to a room with a bench, but we must disable the trap by hitting the lever in the hidden chamber to the west of the bench. This will make the bench safe to sit at. This is a good checkpoint for the challenge coming up. Moving out of this room, we'll drop down the vertical chamber and go through the bottom east passage. There's a cage trap and Scar Stalker along this path that has captured me many times, so watch out for that. We can go beyond the airstream here to pick up a memory locket real quick, then move up the airstream to reach the Chapel of the Beast. We'll need to get through a somewhat tricky platforming section our first time through the chapel, but can hit a lever at the end of it to unlock a shortcut straight to the boss chamber. That's a good thing, because the Savage Beastfly boss we must defeat is extremely challenging, especially considering how early on it can be fought. I recommend doing everything you can in Act 1 to get stronger before facing it, and I don't even think it's a stretch to hold off fighting the beast fly until after getting plenty of upgrades in Act 2. In any case, after we defeat the dang fly, we can go get our beast crest. I recommend checking out my video on how to get all EVA upgrades if you have not already, as that will show you how and when you can get important boosts to your power, such as the Vesta crest. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Saturday and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.